Go. Were you blown away by Tribes of the Wind?
Find out now and watch our video.
Ludus, Vulpes.
It's fine.
Welcome to Ludus Vulpes. My name's Kirsty.
I'm Phil.
You join us as we run through our review of Tribes of the Wind from Le Brat de Jour.
Love your French.
Merci.
Designed by Joshin Thom and art by Vincent Dutrait. This is a beautifully decorated game. The cards, the player boards are stunning. The tiles are lovely too. You are playing as one of the Tribes of the Wind who, after the earth has been devastated by pollution, you are trying to clean up the pollution and build your tree villages as you go to have a wonderful and beautiful place to live. You're going to use your wind riders to ride from treetop to treetop, clearing pollution and allowing you to build your villages. And that, in essence, is what we're going to be doing in Tribes of the Wind.
Sounds wonderful.
Doesn't it just? I know. Well, if you want to know more, you want to see how the game plays, we'll go through a brief overview of the rules, and then we'll give you a demo round and give you our final thoughts. If you want to join us, we'll be down at the table.
See you down there.
You join us down at the table as we go through Tribes of the Wind from Le Brat de Jour. And we have got the table set up for 2 players, so we've got a slightly strange arrangement here, and I'll explain why that is in a moment. But let's explain what we've got on the board. Over there is the end game token, and the person who triggers that will claim that token for 5 victory points. This row are your village cards, and village cards are taken every time you build a village, and they are either victory points at the end of the game or an immediate benefit depending on what you want to do with them. These are forest tiles. You'll be taking these tiles and laying it on your scene of devastation. Mine has more devastation than Kirsty's at the moment because Kirsty likes putting forest tiles out.
Yes, I do.
These are your element cards down here, and there are 4 cards with the top of that deck, making it a 5-card draw. We've got a little discard pile here. We've also got our own player card area just here.
Not sure if you can see those from up there.
I'll do the same.
Yes, actually that helps.
So the reason we have our cards like this is you need to be able to see the backs of your opponent's cards. And so to enable us to film and play, this is how we've had to set up. So Kirsty, you'll take us through the player boards.
Okay, so I'm just going to move this slightly because I feel that might be impinging the board. So to the left hand side we have any cards that you're hoping to score for victory points towards the end.
These are the village cards,
which are the village cards. To the right hand side we have our power cards, of which during a game you can, if you release the requirements, so for example you can see here I have done a pattern which is purple, yellow, green, green, yellow, and it can be in any configuration as long as it's not diagonal, to release the first one. And the second one I did was put a village out in one of these 3 squares, of which I did here. There was a choice of 4 power cards, and I chose these 2. You've got a 3x4 grid, which is covered by devastation, destruction and pollution, and we are rebuilding beautiful forests on those areas. You collect the tiles from the board by paying the required payments, bit of detail on the cards, and when you place them they come that way up with the workers placements on. When you have the workers on like this, you can flip, just as an example, I won't actually do it, this into a village, which makes it all beautiful, fully grown, and you place your village tile on the top. And then gain another village card. Down the side, on the left-hand side, you'll also see that these little temples, and the temples can be placed by discarding any 3 cards, and you gain the immediate benefit of the temple, and then you get to place it wherever you wish on your board, as long as it's in a tree.
Okay, so in essence the game has 3 actions.
The last thing I was just going to say is the board begins with multiple areas of pollution. And the idea is that you clear the pollution in order to then be able to place a tile on the board.
Yes, you can't place a tile in an area with pollution. So
Over to you.
in essence, the game has 3 actions. Action 1 is to play a card, and you pick a card from your little stack of cards. Typically, they will have a condition on them. So this one has less water cards than both my opponents or my neighbours. So the top action is if I have less water than one of my neighbours, and the bottom action is if I have less water cards than both of my neighbours. In a 2-player game, the drafting area counts as the 3rd player. You'll then be able to take the appropriate action associated with whichever condition you've completed. So in this case, if I had less water tiles than both my opponents, I'll be able to clear 2 pollution and draw 3 water tokens that I can then spend, and water tokens are spent to buy these tiles here to go onto your player board. As the game progresses, it becomes increasingly apparent that you need certain cards to do certain things. So for example, if you want to move your wind riders, and we'll talk about the village action in a moment, you'll want the yellow cards. If you want to collect water, you'll typically want the water cards. If you want to clear pollution, you'll want the fire cards. And if you want to buy one of these tiles, you'll want one of the green forest cards. The end game is triggered when 5 of the villages are put out. And to put a village out, you need to move the appropriate number of wind riders, which are these little guys here, onto a tile. And then as your entire turn, you will flip that into a village. And as Kirsty explained, place the village token. Now, your wind riders will only move 1 space depending on how much movement you've got, and they can only move adjacent. So that means that moving them around the board actually becomes really important as well, and really quite challenging at times as you start to spread a little bit thin. So that's a village action, and you'll take a village card. So that's 2 actions: play a card, create a village, and the 3rd action is build a temple, which Chris explained: discard 3 cards, put a temple on the board. You must have a forest tile to put them on. And that in essence is the game. The game ends when the first player completes 5 of their villages. At that point, you'll play to the end of the round, and then everyone around the table will get 1 more turn. And at that point, the game will end, and you'll total victory points. And the victory points are going to be the person who completed first will get 5 points. You'll also then get 3 points for every village, either 3 or 4 points, depending on whether you've managed to. 3 or 7 points, depending on whether you've managed to build 3 or 4 temples. You'll get 12, 7 or 3 points, depending on how many of these spaces you've filled. And the less pollution you have, you're going to score some points at the end of the game as well. If you have no pollution on your board, you're going to get 12 points as a max. So the game sort of cascades up, and you'll also score any of the objectives you've managed to take around the side. That is Tribes of the Wind. Sounds really simple. It's got a few thinky, crunchy moments, and we'll go into a demo round now. We'll both take a couple of turns, and then we'll give you our thoughts. I believe it was my turn.
Probably.
So on my turn, I'm actually going to flip this village. So those 3 come off. So these 3 wind riders go back to my capital. Your starting tile is adjacent to your capital for movement purposes. Nothing else is. But these little sort of metro stations are wind rider stations and allow me to start wind riders there. That's counts as being adjacent to that. So I put my 3rd one out. I also now get to draw one of these. So I'm going to take this one. And I'm going to discard that for this ability. And that ability allows me to place my last temple.
Just push it in there.
And I'm going to put my last temple there. And then I can spend 6 water. 2, 4, 6. To put a tile out.
Power.
Yeah, just that. And the tile I'm going to put out is this one. Which is going to go there. And that is the end of my turn. I didn't use any cards, so I don't have to top up. Kirsty's turn.
Right, okay, so I currently have more green cards than both my neighbours, which allows me, rather than just being 1, both, allows me to build a building for 5 plus have 3 movement. So I will spend 5. However, I have a power which enables me every time I build to get 4 water back. So that's basically 1 water for me to build. And I will build, let's have a look what that is. I will build the green one, please.
Which green one? That one or that one? Because that should have been drawn out.
I'll take that one, please.
Thought you would. The reason Kirsty's taking this, if you look at these tiles, they look fairly similar. This one actually has a wind turbine icon on it, which when you flip it to a village, it doesn't create pollution. So
Thank you.
you can manage your pollution a bit better that way.
I'll pop that one in there. And then I get my 3 movement, of which I will go 1, 2, 3.
And now you need to just top up your
And
cards.
now, yep, I will take the red one, please. Thank you.
So next go, I will just have a quick look around at what's available. So I have more fire than one of my opponents. I get to remove 2 pollution. So 1, 2, bye-bye pollution. We're taking pollution, we're destroying pollution as we go. I'm going to take a blue card. My power leans into blue cards. If I play a blue card, I get a Wind Rider movement plus a clear pollution.
Okay, so I currently have more red than both my opponents because I have 2 reds, which enables me to clear 2 pollution and gain 3 blue. But because it's a red card with my special power, I'll also get 3 movement. So I'll play it in order. I'll remove 2 pollution. I'll gain 3 water droplets. 1, 2, 3. And then I get 3 movement, which I actually want to put 1 there anyway. Okay, so that goes here. And then I choose the card to top up with, of which I will go for this one. Over to you.
Yeah, so I will take I have less water than 1. No, I don't. I can't play that card. So I will actually play this one, which is still a blue one. I've got a card of each colour. I'll take 5 water. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And because I've got this power, I'll be able to remove a pollution and take a Wind Rider movement, which is going to put that guy out there. And I will take a yellow card because I'm desperate for movement.
Okay, on to my go. I'm rapidly running out of peoples, so I'm going to put those back there, flip this village over here, which instantly allows me to put this on here. Gives me a catapult movement, of which I will put this one to there, so I can move it to there next time. There's no pollution, and the one of which I will take a scoring card is...
So the catapult action is when you flip a village, one of the icons on the village tile, the forest tile, is a catapult and allows you to move one of your Wind Raiders from any location on the board to any other location on the board, and can be a great way of getting a Wind Rider to another location pretty quickly.
I'll take this one.
Okay, just top that one up. Okay,
No,
so
I didn't take any cards, so I don't need to top up.
there you go. That's a demo, a couple of demo rounds of Tribes of the Wind. As you can see, it plays quite quickly. But shall we move into our thoughts on the game? Kirsty,
Okay.
what do you think?
So this is such a spectacularly beautiful game. The artwork, obviously, is stunning. Vincent Detrate. It's going to be a wonder to look at. But the use of colour, the feelings that you get from the artwork, it's like the elemental.
Yeah.
Elements? That's not right to say.
Well, they are elements, so they're elemental cards.
You can really
so,
feel that when you look at the cards. The components are so cute. The little
Tree houses.
little tree houses, the little temples. Even the wind riders. The detail is fantastic on the components. What I love about this game is it doesn't take too much setup. It's a nice, quick game. I think it's listed as about 20-ish minutes per player, which it does play once you get to know it.
Yeah.
And it's just a delight to play. It's got its thinky moments, but it doesn't cause AP. It's very Zen-like to play as well. The completing of the board, the collecting of the wind riders, so that you can then turn it over and then recycle. That it's very relaxing to play, and it's also fun to play.
I think fun is a really critical word. It is Zen-like to play because actually the artwork kind of puts you in that frame of mind, but it is also a race game.
Yes.
There is definitely an element of the person who finishes first has got a good chance of winning the game, unless people are keeping an eye on other players' boards and understanding that the game is coming to a close and they can progress their scoring quickly as well. And the game kind of starts in a very Zen-like mode. You're not doing a lot. It's like a slow builder, and then you get sort of to the midpoint of the game, and then villages are popping out all over the place. Yeah. Tiles are getting flipped, and the acceleration into the end game is fantastic, and just really gives you a sense of agency and a sense of ability to control your own destiny, whilst at the same time having to keep an eye on other players for a couple of reasons. One, they might be finishing faster than you, and two, this card mechanic is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I was just about to comment on that.
Yeah, having to look around at what your neighbours have got to sort of power up your cards is a really clever idea to keep the game interactive and keep all players engaged in somebody else's turn. Yeah. So whilst there is definitely downtime in the game, there's less downtime than a lot of games, or it doesn't feel like the downtime's there because you're sat there going, please take the yellow, please take the yellow, please take the yellow, please take the yellow. Why didn't you take the yellow? And it's kind of a constant thing because I'm sat here going, if I've got less yellow than Kirsty, Kirsty and my other neighbour, then this card is much more powerful. Come on, one of you, take the yellow. And you kind of get into this really weird situation where you're almost so focused on somebody else's turn that you're not. You take a little bit longer maybe to pick your turn because you roughly know what you want to do, and have the other players allowed that to happen. Yeah. It's an interesting card concept, and it works really well. It doesn't slow the game down. The gameplay is smooth and slick, and it works really well.
Yeah, so I think the fact that the open/closed ability of the cards, so that you know roughly what it's going to do, and this open information, but also the cards are so powerful, it's also hidden. It's a really, really clever mechanic.
Yeah.
It's, I don't think I've seen it in any other games.
Yeah, and the setup...
Not in the same way, anyway.
The setup is slightly asymmetric as well, so each of the player boards has a guide, and the guide's temples do slightly different things. Yeah. You're also going to have a starting tile, and you've got up to 5 starting tiles, and they also dictate turn order in the first round, so that's quite nice. But also the guide's powers, which Kirsty's got 2 of her powers out. I've only got 1 out at the moment, but they're all slightly different as well. Yeah. And that little bit of asymmetry often means you're trying to lean into a particular strategy as you go as well. Although I would say it's not like a massively, from a gameplay point of view, it's not massively strategic. It's much more tactical. You're much more responding to what's happening on the fly, but you do want to lean into to certain strengths to push your strategy forward.
Yes. Yeah, very much so.
So I think that for me that leaves it as a really interesting game every time we've played it.
Yeah. I also think it's a really interesting theme because it is. There's a lot of like fighting pollution and like solar power type. Not solar power, but like
green energy
games at the moment. But this is like that, but not in the same way. Like, for example, you're using your magical fire element to burn away the pollution. It's So water is the resource, the one and only resource that you can trade with. The way that you transport through is you use the wind, and you're living in trees. It's just a beautiful, beautiful game, but not done in a really politically heavy, we must not pollute way. And I really enjoyed the theme, and it does come across well in this game.
Yeah, the theme works really nicely. So I think overall, from my perspective, Tribes of the Wind, it's a tile laying game. You're playing cards. So between that tile laying, playing cards, end game bonus mechanics, you got a lot going on, a lot of variability, a lot of replayability in a package that doesn't take too long at the table.
No,
and that,
not at all.
That makes it a little bit of a gem, because those type of games will always have a place on your club nights.
Yes.
They'll also have a really nice place in, maybe because of the sort of level of complexity within the game, which is kind of like a sort of family to medium weight game. Yeah. It's a good after dinner game for semi-experienced gamers. So I think it's got a really nice slot.
It's definitely worth a try, this game. We'd love to hear your comments about what you think of this game. So if you've experienced it, if you picked it up when you were at Essen, tell us all about it and let us know your experiences.
If you found this video useful, please like and subscribe to the channel.
Don't forget, we're also on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Just search for Ludus Vulpes.
Thank you for your time today.
Thanks everyone. See you soon.
Bye-bye.